Next, let's look at how to take measurements for your curtain rods. So, as you can notice, the bracket is not placed immediately where the window ends. I usually leave a space of about 20 centimeters. I'm using metric, but if you're using inches, then this is about 8 inches, but 20 centimeters. So you're going to leave 20 centimeters on one side and 20 centimeters also on the other side. So if your window is 1 meter, you're going to add 20 centimeters on one end and 20 centimeters on the other side. So you're going to have 1.4 meters. I hope you understand. Also, when you're placing them now, once you have bought them and you have it in the right size, please note that this is without the ends, or rather the flowers, as I mentioned earlier. When you're going to place them, notice that we have left a big gap here. What we're trying to achieve by hanging your curtains higher is to have height in your room. So the higher the curtains, the higher the illusion of the room. Best practice is usually to leave between 10 and 15 centimeters from the ceiling. In this case, I'm talking about from under the cornice. But if you don't have a cornice, then you'll just need to leave that between 15 and 10 and 15 centimeters. But if you look at it now, including the cornice, you'll find that we have about 20 centimeters left up there. This will give you, depending on the curtains that you have. If you already have curtains, you may want to measure, because at the end of it, you want to achieve a full length. You don't want your curtains hanging somewhere there. You would actually rather have your curtains coming to just under the window rather than hanging in the middle. They usually look funny. So the best practice is to just have your curtains flowing all the way to the ground. So if you already have the curtains and it doesn't have a hem at the end of it, you can consider the height of where you place you. Now, let's see how to take measurements for your curtains. Depending on the size of your curtain rod, for example, let's say you have a 2-meter curtain rod. You're going to buy curtain fabric 3 times the length of the rod, so that will be 6 meters. And for the shears, for your 2-meter rod, you're going to multiply that by 2, so you're going to buy shear fabric of 4 meters. While stitching your curtains, there are different methods that you can use in order for you to be able to mount them on a curtain rod. The first method is what we've used in our curtains, and that is the eyelets. They are called grommets. They are holes on the curtain that allow the curtain rod to go through. There are very many different designs of the rings, and you are able to choose according to your curtain rod or according to the color of your curtain, and the variety is endless. The second type usually is when you have the curtain rods and they have rings. So there's a type of tape, and I have it here. Maybe you can just have a look at it. This one works with this kind of, what are they called? Hooks. They have multiple spikes, and you're able to, you'll notice that the tape will have some slots over here, which you pass these through, and this is what you use to gather the fabric together. I'll show you how it works in a real curtain. So unlike the one with the grommets, the curtain, the surface of the curtain will still be plain, but behind it you will notice that it already has the tape. So what you do is you take this hook and you slot it through this space, I usually leave 1 or 2 depending on the size of the gather you want to achieve on this side. So I either leave 2 spaces and do it on the third one, the second one, then you skip another 2, and you want to just make sure you skip the same number of slots so that you achieve the same gathers, and another 2, and then you do that, and then you can just pull it through and your curtain is gathered. So for the next one, you will skip a few more slots so that you are now having multiple gathers grouped together. The best thing about this is you can still be able to use it when you have a curtain box. You can still be able to use this type of rings, and you're still going to achieve the same kind of gathers. Works best with rings. So you'll find that this ring will go through the curtain rod, and then the hook will hook the curtain, and the curtain will be passing through here, and you are able to have your curtain well gathered. Another advantage of using this type of rings is height. Unlike the one that has a hole in between, you can notice the rod goes through here. That means this curtain is a bit raised. But when your curtain is a bit shorter and you want to be able to achieve the height still, you can use this type of mounting, and you're able to achieve a longer curtain. There are a few more ways of mounting curtains, and as you can see them, yes, so you can mount your curtains in one of these different ways depending on the look you want to achieve, depending on the length of your curtains, the patterns in your fabric, if you want to maybe vary the shades, the patterns in your curtains. So feel free to just try one of these methods, and I'm sure your curtains are going to look